Your celestite's kind of in the shot. Somebody might want to buy it. Or is that
That's
your
not my
celestite?
celestite. That's yours. That's the shot.
It's somebody's celestite. All right, all right. Hey, everybody coming in. A few minutes for all of the cameras to get live and to get loaded up.
Hi, everybody. Say
We
hello.
are back.
Let us know where you're looking in from.
Yeah, where's everybody from?
Let us know, what are you guys doing tonight besides watching us, which we appreciate.
Join in our shenanigans. Or we act like we know what we're doing. We're just faking it really well. We got a few books here, some newer, been out maybe a month or two. It's taken us a minute to read through them, coming back from Tucson. And let me tell you, there's a lot of Post-it notes in some of these books.
Ooh, this one is acting up.
That's Instagram. That one always wants to be...
Instagram, why are you acting up? Hang on.
There we go. Maybe.
No, we're giving them seizures.
You know, we're going to end and maybe try again. I don't know. How about now?
How poor Instagram. They always get abused and neglected.
Hello,
Discard the
hello.
video.
Hey, Brooke. Hello, friend.
Hi, Brooke.
Just a second. We're fighting with Instagram Live. It's not wanting to behave itself properly.
It's being inappropriate.
Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, go.
Checking connection. Bear with
Bueller.
All right, we're starting Instagram again.
All right. Looks like
Slow
it's behaving.
and steady wins the race. Don't breathe on it.
So for our other friends, while we're waiting on Instagram to get on board, if you see a book on the table you might want us to start with, go ahead and call it out.
All right, let us know. Let us know.
We're going to turn TikTok around a little bit so they can see more of the books.
Instagram, hang on here. You're going for a little ride, too.
We have like 6 tonight because we figured some of them have quite a bit of Post-it notes and they might take a little bit to cover all the fun stuff, and we didn't want to be here all night. So
Tea Magic. Woohoo.
Who wants Tea Magic? Brooke wants Tea Magic?
Of course Brooke wants Tea Magic.
Oh my God. Do you see how long Sandy might be sharing with you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Post-it notes. Do you think she liked this one? I think she liked it. It's going to fly away. It's got so many Post-it notes in there. You're up, ma'am.
I guess I'm up. Let me
I'm going to go take a nap, make some coffee.
Yeah,
come back,
really.
See if you're done.
Have enjoy yourself. So, Tea Magic. Spells, Rituals, and Divination in Your Cup by Janae Murray Tate. All right, so lots of things. Lots of things. Everybody sip your tea. So at first when I picked up this book and I flipped through it, I was like, ooh, reading tea leaves. That's what I first thought it was going to be.
Right.
And it's absolutely none of that.
You thought wrong.
I really did. But as you can see, when I went through this book, there's just so many cool things. So it talks about what is tea witchery, teas and tinsons and herbal concoctions, magic potions, all those things. But tea is another one that's been around, and it's kind of making a resurgence. It's coming back to be in there. And what's really cool is how this author describes it as combining both your kitchen witchery and just tea in itself. So you're kind of a green witch, kitchen witch as well. And then she goes on to explain the 6 types of tea and how to brew them. So this is really neat. Talks about like white tea and what the attributes are. It's masculine, and it's more to do with Mars and the sun and the element of air. And then green tea is also masculine, but it's Mars and its element is fire. And they give you some additional information on each tea as you go through. And then there's some honorable mentions that I really like. She talks about one of my favorites, which is Darjeeling. I do like my Darjeeling. So these teas get some honorable mentions.
I don't think I've ever read that kind of tea.
Darjeeling? You've never had it?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's my favorite. It's a black tea out of a region in India. And then she also talks about like sleeping times and different, or seeping times, excuse me, how to seep it, what temperature to steep your tea at, for how long. She gives you also dry measurements, liquid measurements if you have loose tea and
Oh,
not just a tea bag. Um, and then so much detail in here, so much I have to put down. She also talks about the healing magic of Earl Grey, and Earl Grey is another one of my favorites, though I cheat and get caffeinated because I'm a tea drinker in the evening.
mm.
So I don't need the extra caffeine. Um, and the different ways to enjoy Earl Grey. So you have your Lady Grey, your Russian Earl Grey. Um, Things that I didn't even realize because I don't buy my tea from a fancy shop. I buy it at the store, at the regular stores, at the grocery
The
stores.
non-fancy shops.
Lavender, Earl Grey with rose. And then she talks about with healing with tea, and not to ignore your doctor as well, which is really cool because there is a lot of talk in this book of using tea for healing. And we all know you get a sore throat or you're just feeling down, I go right to a cup of tea. That's my healing. But wait, there's so much more.
I'm gonna go take my mile walk. I'll be back.
Enjoy your 1 mile. She'll be back. Um, I never thought of this, though it makes so much sense to use different types of water to make your tea. So whether it's a full moon, rainwater, or days of the week water that you've collected and what it corresponds to. Your blue moon water, the blue moons having two in the same month, talking about how to charge your water. And there's one that charges with ocean water. And I'm like, who wants to drink salty tea? But she says, no, for those of you guys who can get to the ocean, you just take your jug of water and submerge it to the ocean bottom. And now you're charging your water that you're going to make your tea with the power of the ocean, which I thought was really cool. I had never considered that. I don't know that I want to charge tea with my Great Lake. That's the biggest body of water here. So, one of the other things she talks about, and again, something I never thought about, was you could even use a tea bag as a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's really neat. Never gave that too much of a thought. And visualization, scrying. She goes on to talk about how you can reconnect with your inner sight, the process to visualize with your tea. And it's just so much information in here. Again, there's more. But wait, I'm so excited. I have more. And I can't see comments. So if you guys are commenting,
Yes,
forgive
so
me.
container magic will be next. And now that I'm back from my mile walk, I will check your comments.
So there are ways of reading with tea. And one of the things that I found interesting was she also talks about the sitter. Pay attention to how the sitter stirs their tea. You can use, if you put milk or cream in your tea, to watch how that turns out. See what that is. See what it makes. But how your sitters stir was really interesting. So if they're like back and forth, left to right, it's an indicator of correction or starting over. Something to look for. And I had to find mine, which I usually stir in like an infinity or a figure eight. And that's someone who stirs that way. They ebb and flow with the tide. They go with the flow of their surroundings. Stirring in this motion indicates you're deeply methodical and patient. I don't think I'm that patient. You could also be a person
Welcome
who's
back.
in tune with the universe and one who vibrates at a little higher consciousness. So, for those of you guys who stir in the figure eight, there you go. She talks about how to do readings with flower teas. She talks about recipes for herbal teas and flower teas. And then she also talks about charging your teas with crystals. She gives you a list of crystals that you can use, that you can put directly in the water. She gives you a list of crystals never to put in the water, but how you can actually use those crystals in your dry teacup or in the area that you're preparing your tea or even storing your tea to give the tea the power of the crystal. Wait, there's still more. As an example, labradorite. You're not going to put labradorite in water. But what you're going to do with it, like I said, is poisonous, so don't put it in your water. That's
Don't
a
put
big
it in
no-no.
anything
No.
but your pocket.
But you can use it around, again, put it in the cupboard with your teacups. Store it with your tea, and then the properties of the labradorite will be infused with your tea.
Put it in your tea box.
Put it there. Amethyst and peaceful sleep tea. She gives you a recipe for that. There's just so much. Having a tea party with the dead. People have had dead suppers. Well, she goes through the process, the ritual of having tea party with your ancestors or the dead.
Oh, how fun.
Wait, there's a few more. I
Yeah,
really did enjoy this
We're
book.
down to what, three? Three more?
4 more total.
Dun, dun, dun.
She also talks about tea with cannabis and CBD and THC, which I thought was interesting. I never thought about. Again, I'm allergic to it, so I wouldn't do much with that. But she gives you recipes for taking tea baths.
Oh, how fun.
And then her appendixes, she's got 2 of them in this book, and it gives you the correspondences, how to build your own, how to make your own, what caraway seeds are good for, different things that you can add or make tea with. And then the last appendix gives you additional tea recipes as well. So I thought, like, this book's a bummer. It doesn't have pictures. How am I going to use this? There is so much in this book. If you enjoy tea, want to do more with tea, for $20, Tea Magic is yours, and it's fantastic. I definitely recommend this one highly.
Wants to claim any of the books, let us know in the comments, but please be specific on the title of the book you want, because sometimes there's a lag.
And let us know if you want us to keep all of our Post-it notes.
Yeah, if you want, we'll keep the Post-it notes in there for you. So if you like the fact that we already sit here and go, this is fun, then you won't have to go looking for those parts, because we'll leave the Post-it notes for you. Container Magic was the next one from one of our friends on TikTok.
All right.
So this one here is pretty good, even for beginners or somebody who's kind of been in the game for a minute, mainly because some of us forget what our possibilities and options are. So like here we have the Promote Health and Wellness bottle. And it's constructed a little different than a lot of the ones that you're going to see. So it was kind of a unique spin. But where is it? The next one that I really liked, how many of you have seen the memes where they're like, your childhood did not include like taking mud water leaves and sticks and making magic potions, and it shows. This is literally using mud and clay, but adding other things to make container balls.
That's cool.
So, which was fun. I really enjoyed that. So we get into like the different types of ball spells. The little dirt balls, how to remove negative energy, different things to use, the cheer up packets. So people, especially if you're in a place and you have seasonal affective disorder, like that's going to be helpful, especially if you're in Ohio and the sun never comes out until like, June.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be quote unquote seasonal, right? In the middle of spring when we have so much rain and doom and gloom, it'd be nice to have a little cheer.
Yeah, like today just looked like something out of a Batman Gotham movie, just gray, low hanging clouds, misty rain.
It was like we moved to London, but without the accents. Very disappointing.
Oh, right. This was fun. The apple head dolls. One of the more unique poppet styles is the apple-headed doll. These dolls combine the magic of apples with the ancestor veneration. The combination creates a potent spirit vessel for your home. I've never heard of these. These were fun. Thought somebody might enjoy working with the apple head doll.
Brooke said she'll do the accents. Perfect.
Now that Brooke has her new gadgets, we'll have to start bringing her on for some stuff.
Yes.
Road opener poppet. Most people think of like the poppets, the little voodoo dolls for like cursing, sickening, or maybe just like healing yourself or a friend, but you can use them for other, like the road openers. Like you don't just have to burn a candle. Not everybody is candle driven. But a lot of neat, and I thought it was funny, like stop a cheating partner, not just a shovel in a basement. Like there's other ways to take care of the cheating partner. But there were some really unique things in here. She gives a good like little index in the back of some of your common stuff, stones, what they mean, different herbs, even like the police station for baneful magic, justice work, and protection. So to either get like the dirt from the police station, or if you can bury something there, like I never would have thought to try and go
Work
get
justice that way.
Yeah. So that's why I said this is good for not only beginners, because she's able to describe and tell you how to do things without talking down to you. So it's not coming off as gatekeeping, but such unique things in there that even
Some
those
great
of us
ideas. Yeah.
that have been around a while, like
You're like, oh,
well,
why
shit.
didn't I think of that? Right.
Yeah. So, and it's a pretty decent sized book. It's only $19.99. So, and there's a lot in there. So if you want a copy of, Container Magic, let me know. But it's got over 100 spells for bags, jars, sachets, and more in there. So yeah, I think there was something in there too about using the dirt or plants from like around a library for knowledge, wisdom. And I'm like, oh, well, young people trying to study at the end of the year for exams in schools, or
right,
anybody in school, that knowledge that comes with the library and memory.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it was interesting. At first I was like, it's the same stuff. And then I start going through it and I'm like, oh, that was fun. But yeah,
I like when books surprise us.
Right. But that one was only $19.99. Let's see. What do we have next?
Anybody see anything on the table they'd like us to talk about?
Yeah, we're down to the Shadow Animals, Nightmares, Mexican Sorcery, and Moonbath.
All right, we got Moonbath.
Somebody wants Moonbath? Okay.
Somebody wants a Moonbath. Moonbath.
Do we have to stand outside naked in the full moon?
Moonbaths. We're not mooning. Nope. So this book by Dakota Hills and Sierra Brashner, I believe these two may have done another book. I could be wrong. I may be making that up today. I'm tired. So what's neat about this is, I don't know, everybody's probably taken, or maybe you haven't, and you're thinking about doing different ritual baths, whether it's a cleansing bath, a renewal. This book walks you through the moon phases, the seasons, gives you ingredients for such baths, and they even give you journal prompts, some visualization, things to kind of help you along. So there's a lot in here, and wait until I open this and show you some of the pictures too. So with this book going through the moon phases, they give you a new moon, the waxing moon, the full moon, and the waning moon, and then all seasons. So that's how this is broken up. And here's some of the pictures as you go through it. They give you 16 affirmations. I don't know how well you can see this.
That's good. All of them can see really well.
This is pretty cool, but it's kind of a walkthrough on how to use the book. And again, I was today years old when I was like, why didn't I use a French press when I'm making my bath waters instead of, I don't like to just put a sachet in the tub, or I've even used large tea balls to throw my tea type ingredients so that I don't have loose leaves and things floating all around or clogging up my drain. But I thought, how cool, because a lot of the ingredients in the prep does have to do stovetop. Well, just use a French press. I like the idea. So much easier.
Right.
So I thought that was cool. So you got to brew your bath, and they talk about how to do it. And what's nice is for people who don't have a bathtub, maybe you only have a walk-in shower, you can incorporate all these recipes for just a foot and hand bath. I know other people will take their bath, their special bath or ritual bath water, and bring it into the shower and use it while they're in the shower as well.
Mm-hmm.
But foot baths, hand baths have been going on since ancient Chinese times and then some. I mean, that's a really cool way to reconnect to some ancient stuff. All the ingredients for this one, this is an example of a bath that you would take on a new moon in the winter months. And they're very simple and easy ingredients. They even tell you, like, make your place cozy, get your favorite towel, get your candles. They tell you what candles, if you have crystals, what correspondences. So it's not a hard book to follow. And what's really cute is throughout the book, they have the little moon phases right in the top right-hand corner. So if you don't mark it up like I do, you can actually just find your little moon phase in the corner of the top.
So you know where you're at.
In the corner of the page. So here's a spring new moon. And these are, again, easy ingredients: lavender flowers, chamomile flowers, honey, and then bergamot essential oils, and a quartz crystal. Your cozy setup, your robe, your favorite stuff, your journal, your writing implements. And then they go ahead and they give you a meditation. They give you journal prompts, what to reflect on, what to release, what to do. And then your new moon in summer as an example. The spring full moon. And the pictures in here, again, are
They're
all
really pretty.
beautiful. Yeah, this is a great book for some recipes that you, again, are common. You're not trying to find crazy things. I think the most expensive would probably be purchasing your essential oils, because you really want good essential oils if it's going in your bath water. But this is a really cool book, and it's $19.95.
And it's a hardback.
And it is.
$19.95.
It is a hardback.
Petting the book.
I am petting this book.
Last time you were spanking books. This time you're
I did spank books. This one, come touch it. Touch my book. Rub my book.
Rub your book.
Rub my book.
I
feel
feel
my
like
book.
I'm assaulting your book.
Feel my book.
Does it have texture?
It has texture.
Ooh, it is kind of raised.
Uh-huh.
It's ribbed.
For your pleasure.
That's right. Moon baths for your pleasure. A lot of abundance. Yes. Let's see. We'll go to Mexican sorcery next.
Let's
and
do
I
it.
feel like, in a way, I might need to talk about this one a little more in depth, maybe at a different time, with Zach, who is real big, and he's got a class coming in on this. Did she clip that?
Of course.
I saw you
She
smile, and I'm like, I know
clips
Britt's
so much.
clipping it. So, Mexican sorcery, the practical guide to Brujeria del Rancho. Now, this author's story, like she does have family in that area, and her being able to go back and connect with that ancestry and that working and how to apply it in everyday life. So she goes over, like, for them, how apple magic is really good for relationships. And, most apple workings that I've ran into, kind of like in the other book, ancestor veneration, like, apples weren't really, like, relationship wise for a lot of, like,
right. I wouldn't
but,
think of it that way.
She covers that, some of the history behind it, why it's used in that way. She's got protection for military family members, like specifically military family members, especially deployment. So with everything going on in the world, and I know we have a lot of enlisted members, this could be something to take note of, and maybe want to do that working for yourself and your family. Iron versus steel, like consecrating your scissors, the importance of scissors in their workings.
Again, it's the things maybe we wouldn't have even thought of.
And like one of my original teachers for Surdegoria, like, talked over some scissors with Bibles and stuff, and you leave them open for protection next to the bed and keep evil spirits away. And I'm like, it'll also keep away any asshole that shows up unexpected. Just reach over and grab it and stab them in the eye. but the importance of the type of metal and you treat them. And how many of us have parents or a mom or a grandma who sew and cut and quilt, and you will die if you use that pair of scissors to cut anything but.
Right.
Like the scissors in these workings are that sacred as well. Like they do nothing but those magical workings, which I found hilarious. And I'm like, how many other times too were those other scissors maybe doing other magical workings and they were only using that clothing because that article of clothing was being fabricated with a specific magical purpose. Like,
That's true. I'm making this
Mhm.
as
I make my children's clothes. I want them to be safe. Protection is going into this. So these scissors were, and I'm like,
all part of that.
what was grandma really doing?
Until I got a hold of the pinking shears because I liked the way it made the paper.
To keep a straying significant other from wandering. There's a lot in here. Now, I will say there are some in here that are not for the faint of heart. There was one about collecting broken glass from a car accident to use in baneful magic. And I'm like, again, something I never would have thought to do. But I can see the high energy in that.
For baneful, for sure.
Yeah. She goes over the Tetragrammaton. Not many books do that.
No.
And I thought that was really, really, something to find that in a newer book. Because usually to go over the Tetragrammaton, you're looking at older, higher magic texts. And she goes over some of that in here. And if you're going, what is that? Throw it into Google, see what you find. That's a long discussion.
Yes.
How they use and work with the evil eye. And granted, this started more in Turkey, but with, immigration and travel, like cultures mix and mingle and how they can and use. And they traditionally the blue, but they go farther than just, oh, here's my blue eye, let me hang it somewhere. Like they actually have a consecration process that they do in this culture for it to actually activate it, to put it to work. So if you want to take your evil eye to the next level, this book is going to give you a how-to. So Saint Expedite and how he can help with addiction.
Why do you look at me like that?
No, your smoky treats, ma'am.
My smoky treats. I know.
But most people use Saint Expedite because they need money in a hurry, they need healing in a hurry. But to deal with addictions, especially in the Mexican traditions.
That's interesting.
So that was interesting to me. If that's something you might be interested in for you or a family member, she's got a whole thing on it. To find lost article. Testicles. Just because I'm a giant adult child. I was like, this is fun. Let me see, where's the funny part? Saint Kukafest, I am tying your testicles in a knot and won't release them until I find what I lost.
Oof.
Now, take that, Saint, what's his face?
Anthony.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Turn around.
if Tony won't find your stuff, maybe this one will, because you got his balls in a knot. This reminds me, there is a similar type of chant in Stregoria where it's usually a little fairy and you trap her like under the leg of a chair or a table and you don't let her out until she,
gives me back my keys.
Yes.
Oh,
so
I have them back now.
Yeah.
I don't need to trap her.
So this one I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, that one was fun. And she goes over the different magical soaps. Everybody's used to seeing, the sulfur soap, the rose soap, the money soap, but the properties behind honeybee soap and aloe vera and donkey's milk, and then how to use them and incorporate them in other things. Then she goes over some limpayas and room cleanings, like the sweeping direction in the magic broom. So it's very folkish in a lot. How to use lavender fabuloso.
I love it. I love it.
And I'm like, I never would have thought, um, which I thought was hilarious. And pine sol floor wash, how to make that, be even more than just a
More
bottle
than
of floor
just your
wash.
daily, huh?
Yeah. So,
Or weekly.
Mexican sorcery. Some pretty good, interesting things in here. This one's a newer book, a month, maybe two at absolute most. 1895. Got some fun stuff in there.
That is pretty interesting.
So yeah, the next time you can't find something, put Saint Cu. It's like Cupuchas or something. Put his balls in a knot. And tell him you won't.
Tying the wrong ones in a knot.
That's right. That until he coughs up whatever's missing, you're not taking his balls out.
Don't do it.
Now you've got nightmares followed by shadow animals. How appropriate.
That is pretty cool. All right. Last book that I am reviewing tonight is Nightmares, The Dark Sides of Dreams and Dreaming by Stace Michaels. And this author does have another book out, A Little Bit of Dreams. And again, I was like, what am I going to learn from this? I never dream. I rarely remember my dreams, I should say. But this author goes on to talk about how nightmares actually come from fear and anxiety. So your anxiety turns into fear, and that could be the fear of the unknown, resisting what we are afraid of. Maybe it's a person or a situation. And so fear is what actually distorts a dream and makes this nightmare a message or even put up a red flag. So nightmares aren't just something that's, oh, I had a bad dream. There's usually something more to them.
What? Psychology?
What? So what?
It can bring that science up in here.
Your dreams, your nightmares. What about the points of them? Well, they're a warning. They can be general. People that are really sensitive, people that are caregivers. It can bring up traumas. Those are some of the general type things that can be affected, or people that can be affected, and what happens. Mm-hmm. So this author says there's 5 simple steps to analyze dreams. Well, these steps are longer as far as each one. So I'm not going to say that, oh, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. But if you also use this book in conjunction with her bedside guide, I think it really will move itself a lot faster. But nightmares can also be another way for you to deal with your shadow work, or you thought you've dealt with something and you think you have, but your subconscious mind knows better, and you're going to get nightmares to help you face what it is you've been ignoring or tamping down. So nightmares really do come from your ego or your psyche. So maybe you've dreamt about a snake and it scares you because you're afraid of snakes. Well, that snake is not a snake. It usually is a representation of whatever that fear is, or something that you have been putting off, and now it's confronting you because you've been pushing it off. And that's what they consider as something like a selfie dream, right? Where it's something within yourself that you need to fix. And in this book, she gives some really kind of cool examples of actual dreams and projecting like nightmares. So I'm not going to read them all, but there are some really interesting ones and what they mean. For example, somebody had dreamt of a dying pigeon. And in her dream, it was the ex-boyfriend that gave it to her. And she kept it in a cage in the garage. He asked about it, and she realizes she's completely forgot about it in this dream. And so the pigeon is like the key symbol, and a pigeon usually always returns home, right? That's what they're known for, homing pigeons. Well, it's an issue about your home. It's a projection of the dreamer's thoughts about a relationship. And so, with the food and water, what we need to survive, it's a metaphor for love and relationship, right? So, she forgot about the bird. She forgot to feed it, give it food and water, and how this then correlates to what's really going on. Cage, which is what limits, also protects you.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping the bird in garage. So, see, keeping something at arm's length, not quite owning it, but not letting it go either. So, that was kind of an interesting interpretation. And then she does talk about, well, what if there's no real solution? What if I can't figure out what this means? And they go into some detail so that whether you're trying to interpret a nightmare or not, you can understand. Not all of them have a true meaning, but there can be literal warnings within a nightmare too. A motorcycle disaster. The dreamer, who was 32, had a coworker who was good-hearted but kind of headstrong and a loner. And in a blood-curdling nightmare, Ryan saw John racing his motorcycle up a steep city hill. As he rounds a sharp corner at breakneck speed, his motorcycle jumps out of control, begins to slide backward. Ryan watches in horror as John is thrown from his motorcycle, and in a gruesome death scene, he sees John's body smashed, his limbs flying in all directions. That would be a pretty bad nightmare to me. But waking up extremely disturbed, he had no idea what the nightmare meant. Everything was intense. It was an actual coworker. The guy really did have a motorcycle. Well, what it turns out to be, you find out later, was he did die in a motorcycle accident. And he had dreamt about it. But then there's non-literal warnings as well, like a spiritual warning, a computer hack. They also talk about the hints, like if you have the same reoccurring dream or a jolt or something to embrace your transformations. And it gives you the reoccurring. It's like a specific challenge in life that you haven't mastered. So this really does give us a lot, some common nightmare symbols and what they mean. So like you're being attacked, you have bugs in your dreams and what those mean. Monsters and villains, whether a dream scene depicts Frankenstein or a modern villain like Megatron with Transformer movies. Dream monster highlights fears, negative actions or thoughts, emotions. So if you're interested in dreaming and figuring out what your dreams mean, there's more than just good dreams to figure out. There's nightmares. So this little palm-sized book, I don't even know how much it is. Oh, it's $15. It's hardcover, and it's not bad if you're interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
I was more interested in it than I thought I would be because, again, I rarely, if ever, remember my dreams.
Yeah, it's been a while since I really, and it's weird because I'm usually watching a movie happen. I'm never really a main character in my own dream. And it's usually people I don't know. So it's weird. So shadow animals. This isn't just your like, oh, the fluffy pretty bird, the butterfly. These are the animals that most people want to avoid. But it goes over the medicine they bring to you and what they really mean and what you can really do. And what's funny is because talking about the shadow work that you don't deal with and how it creates the nightmare in here, it's literally like the animal you're trying to avoid is going to be part of your shadow work.
It's what you need to confront and face, right?
Right. Yeah. So the shadow animals appear from suppressing the shadow. The author includes like meditations to figure out what it is. And usually people are like, oh my God, why that? And it's kind of like, well, if you come up with something like the rat and you're like, ooh, they're dirty, they're this, they're that. They're actually very clean animals. They run through dirty spaces, but they clean themselves and they're very,
they're industrialists. They're clever.
Yes,
there's a lot of good things you could say about it.
Right.
They're intelligent.
Learning to go through that. So what part of yourself and the part about you that you don't like still serves you? And what do you need to learn to like about it and learn to work with? So, he goes through all of this, how to accumulate, how to bring it in, how to work with it. little animal, like a lot of cool exercises to use to learn to work with. And whoops, I'm worried about the
Sorry.
sign that I'm dropping everything else. But how to work with it into um, do better for yourself. So the different steps, the waiver, the projection, attempting to repair the waiver. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So it's like you see something and you normally don't like it, but then as you're evaluating it, you kind of go, well, that's not too bad. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, but it is. Like you're trying to fix the reason why you shouldn't like something, even though you know better. So like that part of you that wants to stay in that comfort, even though it's discomfortable because you're used to it. So
Right. And change, even for the better, is never pleasant. It's scary. It's frightening. But once you're through it,
right. You know, eating the shadow, learning to bring it into yourself and, you know, how to incorporate it.
is that a snake?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And what I found interesting is he talks about eating the shadow and how, you know, that's going to be in your solar plexus and your sacral area. And in part of the shamanism, we talk about eating the hucha, the heaviness, and you bring it in through the gut and then you do the transformation and do something. So I'm like, that's pretty interesting. Wonder what else he's trained in. But so then he starts going into some of the different animals. And what I found interesting, so many people hate spiders. And he's like, but why? Way back when people loved them, they were revered because they were the spinsters of fate. They were knowledge. They were usually identified as feminine, even not all spiders are feminine. But they were revered. They weren't feared like they are now. That's a newer thing. So he gives some good steps to work with, different places, what you answer, what that means in the web, and how to untangle this fear that you might have.
So spiders used to creep me out. I'm a lot better than I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what gets it for me is the locomotion. Watching them move, especially larger spiders where you really see all their legs going. And
Yeah. So like, you know, again, like we'll cover like the like rats. I used to have a pet rat. He was really cool. I liked him. I think they're cute myself. The rats and mice. I think they're adorable. It goes over bats. I also love bats.
I love watching them fly, and I encourage them in my backyard all the time. Eat the bugs, please.
Yeah. So, you know, they go over the characteristics, the history, how it's changed, and, you know, kind of getting in there and being like, okay, well, they were used to be considered this. Why has society changed? What does that mean now? How do you get past this societal idea that they're bad and embrace the true nature of the animal? Different types of cats. It goes over like the black cats and their different beings. The larger cats. I love big cats. I wish I could go be a big cat person, even though they might eat me.
I do love tigers.
I do. I love all the kitties. But then we get into
the raccoon in there. That's my shadow animal. That's my shadow spirit animal.
Now, the one in here that I'm like, yep, they're kind of creepy to me are goats.
Yeah, they're predator eye. They're
because of
prey
the square,
eyes.
the square, and I'm like, whoa, why?
Those square pupils.
That just freaks me out. So I might need to sit down and spend some time with a goat.
I'm a goat. I'm a Capricorn goat. Does that count?
I'll take it. But then it kind of goes into nightmares, and it goes over like the animal-human combination. So you're going to look at a lot of the stuff from Egypt, and some of the more archetype type of animals and what they mean, and like the praying mantis and locusts and
looks like, yeah.
You know, so if all of a sudden instead of getting a warm fuzzy you're getting a dung beetle or a cockroach, like, okay, well, nobody wants a cockroach, but why is that your shadow animal? What is that telling you about yourself, about what you don't like about yourself, and what you're
that you could withstand a nuclear bomb,
right?
You're going to be the one coming through on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
What?
So a really interesting book. This one's 25. It's a bigger size trade paperback. A lot of info in there. but it's good. And I know Emily talked about how she might incorporate that into a shadow work class when she redoes it or does like a whole separate thing. So that might become a
That
class
would
all
be
in itself.
interesting.
But yeah, how animals we fear can help us heal, transform, and awaken.
Hmm.
So, but it's funny. Out of everything in there, it was the goats, and I'm like, it's your eyeballs that freak me out.
Yeah,
Your
their eyeballs are
square.
weird.
You know, what's funny is one of my uncles, when I was little, he was in 4-H and he had a goat, and it was down in the basement, and I never really noticed the eyes at that time. I just remember this goat being an asshole. Like he didn't like anybody. And I'm like, thinking back now, I was like, well, he was kept in a basement. But at the
I was
time,
just like, maybe the basement had something
yeah,
to do
but
with
it was
it.
Ohio in winter, and they thought they were being nicer by keeping him warm instead of, you know. But it wasn't until later, like in life, that I went, ew, they're square.
Yeah,
Now I have a problem.
some of them that don't have as large of eyes, it's not as noticeable.
Mhm.
But the certain breeds of goat that definitely are like you're staring right in those square eyeballs,
Yeah,
those square pupils.
yeah, that's
It can be a little unnerving.
yeah. That's what I'm like.
I want little pygmy fainting goats though.
You know, it's funny. I was watching something about that, and they're like, yes, while it's fun and hilarious, like they
They
actually
really
have
do
like,
seize, yeah.
yeah, like it's not fun for the goat. Like
Mm-mm.
they're in physical distress every time you make them faint on purpose.
Yeah, I wouldn't make them faint
Yeah.
on purpose, but
So
I just like the pygmy ones. They're small. I can handle that.
right, put them out there with your chickens.
Put them out with my chickens.
That's right.
Homesteading.
But that's all the books we have for everybody tonight. We kept it to 6 because there was a lot in some of those books. So
Yeah, and we found that when we try to do more, we wear out too easy. I mean,
yeah.
so I think I liked this week's or this month's or this time's picks of what we reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
I think they all offer something unique and different on each of their topics.
Yeah. So
So
if you're watching this on a replay, feel free to message and ask if any of them are still available. I think most of these are up on the website. The rest will be coming up shortly. We will ship to anywhere in the continental U.S.
oh, Chris said the bucks are more creepy than the does.
Of the
The goats, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that I didn't notice it as a kid. But I think he was a smaller one though too, so maybe that was part of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I one of my favorite fairs is in Wayne County,
Mhm.
Wayne County Fair, and the one year my husband and I were there, it started raining, and we just dodged into the closest building, which was a show arena, but they were doing goat agility. So the 4-H kids were doing goat agility, where they had to take their goats and they had to go up and down on a teeter-totter and weave through buckets and step into a pool of water. It wasn't deep, but just all these things while carrying packs because they were also the pack goats. So they were the bigger goats that you could put like sides like harnesses.
Who comes up with this? Like,
I don't know, but it was really
goat
interesting.
agility.
Goat agility, and I can tell you they didn't like the teeter totter. None of them enjoyed that.
I would. Who did? That was like one of the most painful 80s playground toys. Especially if you had
if
the
somebody,
asshole friend on the
yeah,
other
that
side.
just got off and like thumped her right to the bottom.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody ever saying the teeter totter was their favorite.
No.
Now, depending on how driven you were, is whether or not you like the metal slides and wax paper, and how far you could go flying at the end of that slide.
So I am old enough that our playground was blacktop. It was asphalt. So if you came off the slide with your wax paper, you were going to be road rashed on the asphalt.
So, yeah, but I don't remember.
It wasn't for the faint of heart. Goat agility was entertainment before TV.
Yes. Right.
Could very well have been.
our playground up in my old town, because it's funny because where my house is the town that like
Did you say bye?
not to TikTok. There was nobody on there.
Oh.
And I think we're the same. Oh, we've got somebody on Instagram. Hello, Instagram. We had like this merry-go-round that was like an octagon or something, and it was nothing but bars and like wood seats in an octagon and completely open in the middle. And
You had seats?
yeah,
Ours was all metal.
well, there were other playgrounds with those with the arched, but this was completely open, nothing but bars that went to these wood seats, and you would have to push with it like underneath. Lord help you if you didn't keep your feet up when that really got going.
Yeah, because you'd lose an
everything
ankle.
in the middle was open. So if you fell forward, like you were done. And I had 4 uncles who were all teens when I was little, me and my cousin Brian, and they would get us on that merry-go-round, and they would just stand at different points and just push as hard as they could. And we would be giggling our head up, holding on for dear life. Because if we let go,
that was it.
Centripetal force would have flew us 2 streets over.
Yes. One of the stand-up comedians, and I don't recall who, was saying how the merry-go-round was really like the calling of the dumb kids. I'm like, that's terrible.
Yes.
So if you didn't have the sense to hold on for dear life, you were flying off.
I mean, I don't even know if there's pictures of us as kids on it, because that was the only playground I ever saw a merry-go-round like that with. Usually everybody else was metal with the arch things, and they had the one pole that went to the middle and you held on to that. I've never seen another merry-go-round like the one that was there. And of course, like it's long gone. But I do have video of like Rune when he's little and like pushing that and him letting go and like flying off. And you hear me laughing. Like, oops, that was my kid. He's fine. But
oh, for sure. Anna Marie, check out the Shadow Animals.
Yeah, we've got that here in the store, and if you like that one, I'll leave the tabs in it for you, the little post-it notes. Because like I do have the spider web exercises saved in there.
Kids do bounce when they're little, but bouncing on asphalt at any age is not fun.
Well, that's because they're still cartilage and rubber. They haven't started turning brittle with age yet. Yeah, he got up and laughed. He didn't.
Yeah, shake it off.
He was probably like 7.
So he wasn't too tiny.
No. They're like bumbles. They bounce.
They are bumbles.
But well, that's all we got for you, everybody, tonight. Did you happen to get a copy of Blood and Bone? You know what? I'll go look real quick. I know we had it. Let me see if it's still.
Yeah,
some of it's been going as fast as we're unpacking it. Because I know I've got that down for you, Chris. Let me see if they'd ever need it.
She's going to look, Chris. Yes, now falling down is terrifying. It is. Going up the steps at my age right now is terrifying. Because the knees don't like it anymore. Not at all.
I got it, Chris.
Hey, she has it, Chris. Woohoo! She'll set up one aside for you.
Did she still want the sigil witchery?
Do you still want the sigil witchery as well, Chris? Let us know.
I found that stashed, and I'm like, oh, we forgot to mention or remind her that we had this set aside from one of the last book reviews.
Well, she says, oh, yes, darn it.
Okay. Okay.
You got it, Chris. You got it.
I will put these up by the register for Chris.
That's okay, Chris. I forget all the time, too. Sometimes too much. Well, guys, thank you. Don't hesitate to ask any other questions or even make some recommendations. We'll take some recommendations if it's a book we either have or can get We'll gladly review them, go over them, share them. Thanks, Brooke. All right, guys, you have a good night. And we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.